Formula One today. Can I just get you to say a few words about the current cars? Let's talk about them aesthetically.
There's not a lot to say really about current cars from an aesthetics point of view. I think it's a shame. I don't mind the fact that they're totally dominated by aerodynamics as much as I mind that the regulations force them all to look pretty much the same. You know, it's the old business of put them all in a room and paint them all white and then give somebody 30 seconds to identify them. I don't think I could. That's the bit I really don't like.
And that was characteristic, of course, of your time. The opposite of that was characteristic.
Yep.
You could do the triangular-shaped monocoque, you could do the surface cooling, you could do all of those things. So I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I guess you were probably thinking you were around at the right time in terms of...
Oh, no, definitely. I mean, it's just luck, isn't it? You know, I was in Formula One in the 70s, 80s, and those were the 2 decades where you had most freedom. Mainly with where you put the major masses in the car. Once the regulations told you where the driver had to be, the fuel had to be, and the powertrain had to be, you're stuck. In the early days, I mean, you could shift the driver backwards and forwards, fuel, engine. How
do you feel now in this little retrospective when you see all these cars that you've designed and built?
Well, it's now a very emotional experience seeing everything together. Obviously, it's I think it would be the same for anybody, whatever discipline you were in as a designer, you know, just seeing your whole life laid out, and your life's work laid out in front of you. It's very, very emotional, yeah.
And probably exhausting in your own mind when you look at the number of cars you designed.
Yeah,
and built.
when I look at the 70s room, if you like, I can't believe where I found the energy to do all that and run the team and engineer both cars at every race meeting and go to every test.
And build the Mini Bug, and build the Decadene.
And the 750 Formula car to
and
go
the 750.
It's like, I sort of can't believe it now that I had that amount of energy. But I've never slept very much, and I still don't, so I think that's...
How many hours do you sleep?
I sleep about 4.5 hours. That's absolute max.
And do you go to bed late and get up early, or how does it work?
Yeah, yes, I go to bed late, get up early, yes. I'm at work between 6:30 and 7 every morning.
And when is your most creative time?
In the morning, definitely, yeah.
Pencil to CAD?
It still works really well. I still do all the concepts for the cars on a drawing board with pencil, and I've got a bunch of very talented people who know how to operate CAD machines, which I don't, and they're very used to converting my pencil drawings into CAD.
One of the things I love most here is Gordon's garage. I didn't realise you had that many cars. I knew you had some nice ones. Come on, pick a couple out of there that your favourites.
Well, the favourites from a driving point of view are the 2 Elans for sure. That's still probably the best sports car I've ever driven, including the F1. It's just the feedback from the controls is mind-boggling, really.
And I'm interested to hear you say there on the plaque that the Elan was a benchmark for you when you were doing the McLaren.
Absolutely. I tried to get that steering feel, and I missed it. The F1's good, but it's not as good as an Elan. And well, it's a difficult question because I like...
But you drive all these cars, right?
I do, yes. Apart from the 48 Sprint car because I can't get my foot on the brake pedal. But they're modifying it for me.
Fair enough.
They are modifying it for me and I want to drive it.
How about that Cortina?
Yeah, the Cortina is, from a nostalgic driving point of view, that really gets me going because that's exactly what we did in the 60s was bore and stroke them, put them on Webers, cam, head, exhaust. That's about 130 horsepower and it's so much fun.
And on the other side of the fence, the Formula One cars, if you were just walking around now, where would you gravitate?
It's again, a difficult question because they all mean, the favourites, I've got 3 or 4 favourites, but they all mean slightly different things to me. I still love the 44 as a piece of engineering because it was the car that simplified Formula One cars again. They were getting hugely complex and that went really simple and it won the first race, so that's really important. I also love the 52 because it was the pit stop car.
Beautiful car too.
And it's quite a good looking car and it was a massive gamble on moving that much weight backwards and dumping side pods. I mean, it was a huge gamble. And the fact that it paid off and we won the championship is important.
And it's funny seeing all those pictures of Charlie and Herbie in there as well.
Yeah, it's nice. It's like, that's what I say, this is more like a reunion, this event to me, because I'm getting back with all the old folks.
How hungry are you now? 4 hours sleep, I know, obviously getting up early still, but how does your brain work now in terms of getting through the day?
I think I'm in the best period of my life with ice cream. because finally I can put something back. All the fun and the lovely times I've had in racing, everything you see here, I've now got to the point where I can take that technology and all that knowledge and give it back to the everyday motorist. And wow, who gets to do that? Normally you get to this age and you go, well, I've done pretty well. I think I put my feet up. But actually to come up with taking Formula One technology and bringing it down to something that's affordable, that anybody could use and have the benefits of the safety and the lightweight, wow, that's a great way to... Well, I was going to say stop, but actually now I'm talking about doing my own cars again. So.
Well, I love the way you got the weights in red everywhere. That's like the most important stat in every car.
I don't know whether anybody got it, but that is one formula. That's what it is.
Exactly that. Gordon, a great pleasure. Just to finish with, I'd just like to know where you're at with music now, because you were always ahead of the game there with The Clash, with Bob Dylan, whatever was going on. Where are you at now with music?
There's some really good. We had a bit of a desert for a decade, actually, but I do a compilation tape every year.
Tape or download?
Sorry, I beg your pardon. It started as cassettes. I'm on volume 41 now, as CD, of course, now. And it's called Oral Attractions. And I started making cassettes to play in the car because I don't like albums. And I'm on volume 41. And what that is all the good new bands I've heard in the year, mixed up with some old favourites. And last year there were so many good new bands, I actually did a volume 40 and 41. So there are a lot of good people out there, but you really have to dig. They're not usually the popular bands. You have to go a bit deeper than that, but there's some good bands out there.
So where do you do that digging? Do you actually go to live gigs?
I subscribe to one music magazine, and I have done for 20 years. And they've got the sort of balance that goes on in my head with music. So if they say something's good, generally it is.
One more question. How many T-shirts did you have in your loft when you decided to bring them down here for this extravaganza?
The T-shirt thing's really funny because Jenna, who's been responsible, one of my PAs, who's been responsible for putting this together, she said to me, you know, we should dot some T-shirts around. And this is before we had the warm-up room in mind, around here, from the period, you know, how many do you think you've got? I said, oh, I've got some suitcases upstairs. I have no idea. Probably a couple of hundred. So she said, do you mind if we come over and sort them? So they did, and now I've got 980. And I don't consider myself a collector. It's just every time I went to a gig, or every time I went to a new Grand Prix circuit or a country, I bought a T-shirt.
And Bernie never used to mind you wearing them at races either, did he?
No, Bernie was great, yeah.
No team uniform
Not at all.
Regime at all?
No, that was very free. Bernie knew who I was, didn't mind. We got on like a house on fire. When I went to McLaren, I had it written into my contract that I could wear anything I wanted to outside racing.